The moment felt ordinary from the outside. Just another bright afternoon with the sun resting gently over the city, but inside me, everything was already packed and ready to leave. My bag rested near the door, my mind was made up, and my heart had convinced itself that walking away was the only way to survive. I had reached that quiet breaking point where you don't cry anymore, where you don't argue, where you simply accept that some places are no longer meant for you. I took one last look around, inhaled deeply, and prepared to step out of a chapter I thought was finished forever. And then, right before I moved, something stopped me. Not a sound, not a touch, but a presence so heavy with emotion that it made my chest tighten. I was about to leave, but she asked me not to go yet, and in that single moment, my entire life hesitated. If you believe that kindness deserves second chances, and that human connection can change lives, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel Kindness Touch, because stories like this remind us why compassion still matters. My name is Arman Halim, and until that afternoon, I believed that leaving was the bravest thing I could do. I had moved into that modest house months earlier, carrying nothing but exhaustion and quiet disappointment. The house belonged to Nadia, a woman whose life had been shaped by loss in ways she never spoke about openly. She rented out a small room to people like me, people passing through life without direction, people who needed a temporary place to exist without being questioned. During the day, sunlight poured generously through the windows, revealing clean floors, pale walls, and the faint smell of tea leaves that always lingered in the air. It was peaceful on the surface, but beneath that calm was a shared silence between two broken souls who never dared to ask each other why they were hurting. I came thereafter, losing my job, my confidence, and the version of myself I used to recognize. Every rejection letter felt like proof that I was replaceable, invisible, and unnecessary. I spent my days walking under the open sky, watching other people move with purpose while I felt stuck in a pause I didn't know how to end. Nadia noticed, of course. She always noticed things without commenting on them. She would leave a cup of warm tea on the table during the afternoon, make sure the curtains were open to let the daylight in, and ask simple questions about whether I had eaten. It wasn't intrusive, but it was intentional, and over time, that kindness became harder to ignore. Still, I told myself not to get attached. Temporary places are not meant to feel like home, and temporary people are not meant to matter. I kept my distance emotionally, convincing myself that leaving quietly would hurt less than staying and hoping for something more. But hope has a way of growing silently, even when you try to starve it. The turning point came on a clear afternoon when the sky was so blue it almost felt unfair. I had received another rejection email that morning, and something inside me finally snapped. I packed my bag without hesitation, folded my clothes neatly, and placed the key on the table where sunlight reflected off its metal surface. My plan was simple: leave before emotions complicated things, walk until I found another place, another distraction, another way to avoid feeling like a failure. As I reached the door, my steps felt heavy, but my resolve felt firm. That was when I sensed her standing behind me. Nadia didn't rush or raise her voice. She simply existed in that space, her presence filled with unspoken fear and courage. She looked smaller in the daylight, like someone who had already lost too much and couldn't afford another quiet goodbye. She didn't beg or explain herself. She only asked for a little more time, and somehow that gentle request carried more weight than any argument ever could. I froze, my hand resting on the door handle, my heart racing in confusion. No one had asked me to stay anywhere in years. People usually watched me leave without question, as if my absence barely registered. That moment forced me to confront a painful truth. Maybe I wasn't as invisible as I believed. Maybe my presence mattered more than I knew. I stepped away from the door and sat down, not because I had changed my mind, but because I didn't have the strength to ignore what I felt. The afternoon light spilled across the room as we sat in silence, two people surrounded by the sound of distant traffic and birds outside the window. It was then that Nadia finally shared her story, not through dramatic words but through quiet honesty. She had lost her family years ago, one by one, to circumstances beyond her control. The house had once been full of laughter, but now it echoed with memories she couldn't escape. Letting people stay was her way of keeping the house alive, of convincing herself that she wasn't completely alone. Listening to her, something shifted inside me. My struggles felt smaller, not because they weren't real, but because I finally understood that pain doesn't compete. It connects. We both carried different wounds, but they recognized each other instantly. Over the next few days I stayed, not out of obligation but out of curiosity about what might happen if I stopped running. We shared afternoons filled with simple routines. I helped fix things around the house, cleaned the yard under the warm sun, and slowly rebuilt a sense of usefulness. Nadia smiled more often, her eyes softer, her shoulders less tense. The house felt brighter, not because anything physically changed, but because something emotional had shifted. Hope had entered quietly, the way it always does. I started applying for jobs again, this time without the crushing weight of desperation. I woke up earlier, walked with purpose, and reminded myself that setbacks didn't define me. Each rejection still hurt, but it didn't destroy me anymore. I had someone waiting at home, someone who believed I was worth staying for, and in return, I found myself believing the same about her. One afternoon, while sunlight danced across the walls, I realized something profound. Staying hadn't fixed my problems, but it had given me the strength to face them. Leaving would have been easy. Staying required courage, patience, and vulnerability. It required trusting that kindness was not a weakness, but a bridge between broken places. As weeks passed, life began to change in small but meaningful ways. I received a call for an interview, then another. Nadia encouraged me with quiet pride, never pressuring, always supportive. The house felt less like a temporary shelter and more like a shared space of healing. We laughed occasionally, not loudly but sincerely. Those moments felt earned. Eventually, the day came when I did have to leave, not out of desperation but out of growth. I had found work, found direction, and found a version of myself that felt real again. Packing my bag this time felt different. There was gratitude instead of fear, and purpose instead of escape. The sunlight that afternoon felt warm, comforting, and full of promise. Standing at the door again, I realized how close I had come to missing all of this. One moment, one pause, one request had changed the direction of two lives. I promised myself that wherever I went next, I would carry this lesson with me. Sometimes staying a little longer is how miracles begin. Before the ending, I have a special request for you. Please comment below and share your thoughts or your own story of a second chance. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. As I stepped outside into the bright day, I didn't feel like I was leaving something behind. I felt like I was carrying it forward. The kindness, the connection, the reminder that even at our lowest points, we can still matter deeply to someone. That single moment, when I was asked not to go yet, taught me that healing often begins when we allow ourselves to be seen. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of someone you almost walked away from or a moment that changed your life, please like this video, share it, and engage with it. Your support helps stories of kindness and second chances reach more hearts, and together we keep hope alive.